Hello.
Hey, just a minute. Let me introduce you, Anton. So, welcome to the DevDays conference and the Hall Languages and Frameworks. My name is Ranjit, and I'm your moderator today. And
Thank you.
my background is C Sharp as a language and .NET as a framework. So, when it comes to web applications, I've been working with ASP.NET, right? And sometimes you hear about ASP.NET and suddenly you think, is it still relevant in the new world? And what's interesting is I have a lot of my friends working um, with React and with Angular, and every now and then I try to work with those platforms, but I end up writing backend APIs for React and API, React and Angular. So, but today, uh, Anton, our speaker, is going to talk about React. I'm actually very interested to listen to how he talks about it and how possibly, I might still be helping from the back end. So, Anton, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, right. We're going to talk a little bit today about the new, like already not such new, but the feature of the React of synchronization store, and we're going to create our global state management without any dependencies. So, um, before we jump to the lineup, I will say that we was using a global state management in React as Redux. Uh, Jotai or whatever it is, but actually we can just create the solution by ourselves and to avoid any unnecessary dependencies and to make it even scalable and manageable by ourselves. So to see the lineup, I'm going to jump to the introduction a little bit. So then I'm going to build the UI with us, with you guys, and then we jump to the structure and components, and then we will create a store itself. We will update and adapt the components to that store. Then we adjust the store implementation with our listeners, subscribers, and we will take a little bit time for the server-side rendering because the store will behave a little bit differently with the server-side rendering. And conclusion. So, how we're going to build a very simple application, and the application will have a header where we're going to update our store, um, and there's going to be a body where we're going to be able to update and read the store. Then we're going to have a shares component where we're going to update and read the store as well. Write an application, we will put as an example the button which will update the store itself, and the footer just from where we're going to read the store. Now I think everybody have the question why we need that a structure. So this is actually just for highlight what component will be updated while we're going to update our state in the store. And this is important because some components will be nested, or some components should not be updated while we are reading some information from there. The data actually was not updated from the store, and that's why we need to see this components, and that's why I just put that structure like that. So I'm going to create the simple store, simple application itself. I'm going to use the with the React TypeScript, and the structure will be something like that. We're going to have a components. There is going to be a folder store from where we're going to import our store usage types itself and application with a name entry point. So now let's start with a simple application. There's going to be 4 components what arrive to this application, and you can see a very simple console log on the button right in the application. It's just an indicator. For now, we will leave it as just like this. We're going to say that, hey, we'll update the shares from the application, and and nothing else. So all of components we will create in the same way. Here, the application itself, let's go to the body. You can see here, I just put another indicator for that body updated. And there is a name and age, which we're going to read from store. Later on, you can see the whole structure. Here, the button, which we're going to update the state itself as well, right on the body, as we mentioned before. Footer, just to indicate that footer going to read some status from the store, but nothing going to happen regarding the footer. We're just going to see, we're going to be sure that footer is not updated. Here, the header also with indicator and a simple button where we just put the indicator itself, and they are another component, shares, where we're going to read list of shares with a share item. This is another component inside the shares. So you can see here the share item itself. We keep this in component share item. Very easy. Actually, we don't need even to handle everything from the store. It's just going to be a simple memorized component. So yeah, here's going to be the list. We're going to read the symbol and price, and we just propagate it right to the share item. And that's it. Shares we're going to read from the store. And yes, our indicators is going to be a console log. I'm going to check the symbol from the share item, and I'd like to see this item be updated or not, and nothing else being updated. So, for example, if I do manipulation with the share item, I'm expecting that they re-render only share that specific active share item and nothing else. So what about types? Here you can see the share, which is going to have the symbol of the string, price as a number, and there's a store. I put the store in the store details as a shares just to complete a little bit, have a more complicated story where we have a shares inside the some objects and so on. But literally, like this is whatever we can do, and there's various of options. So before we jump to the implementation of global state management, we need to ask ourselves, like, what we're expecting from our global state management. Of course, it have to be some words about the scalability, easy to use, easy access to the store, obtain the latest updates from the store, and so on. So yes, of course, we need to be able to update the store, but only when we need the data. All right. Then we need to provide a previous state when we update the state. Specifically, the same as we do update the state from React. It has to be, we have to obtain that previous state in order to manipulate with that state. And of course, select the latest update from the store. So this is the three main points what we will achieve. And about the scalability, we will talk a little bit later, but this is the most crucial thing. So how are we going to define our store? Literally, it's going to be a simple function, create store, where we will provide that store type as a generic. You can see here our store. This is definition of the store. Here we going to use just a create store. It's going to be a function with the argument of our initial state. And that function has returned to us the store itself, from where we're going to read data and update the data. And that store will provide to us those functions where we will set state and get the latest update using selector. How are we going to do this? We will create that function. Let's create this create store, where we will obtain the initial store, initial state, and there's the two functions. I left them a dummy for right now, just to go one by one. So set state. Before we jump to the set state, we have to be sure that we we need to help to keep the UI and application itself, application state synchronized by the reacting on the state change and triggering necessary updates. So literally, we need to create something which is gonna notify that, hey, there's an update. And for that reason, we need to create the listeners, which is gonna be a set of functions where gonna be argument store, and those listeners will keep our will notify us about updates. Now, we have to take the state from initial store, and we going to provide to the set state that callback, which going to get the store, and we will assign to the state from the callback the update and put the listeners. So you can see the listeners. So each listener we update we call listener with updated state. How it works, I will show later. For now, let's step into the use sync external store hook, which React provide to us from version 18. You need to subscribe to the external store and get the current state. The use sync external store hook works with a subscriber and snapshot and getting snapshot. So we need to ensure that the UI stays in the sync with the store. So how are we going to use it? We're going to update our use selector function, where we're going to get the selector, which going to consist the store, and we have to provide the selector data, what we're expecting to return from this function. So, and we will return itself the result of the use sync external store. There is a listener, which is gonna add to the listener the list of the listeners. You can see that we add to the listeners the latest listener, and in terms of sign off, we just delete that listener. And yes, the function of selector going to get the state and get server snapshot. I will explain later how it works because it's related to the server-side rendering. So with this technique, we have to be able to subscribe to our store and notify React about changes. So now we already created the store. We have a initial store over here, so we have to be able to use our data from that store. How are we going to do this? We're going to use the selector. Selector will return to us in the selector getting the argument of the function, and that function will return to us the state. And from the state, we're able to read the name or age or details with shares and whatever it is. So we're able to grab this data and render this data. And okay, let's try to implement this. Let's go to the body. Here you can see that I already removed the previous dummy name and age. Now I'm just using those selectors in order to get this data from the store. So here you can see that name and age already we're reading from the store and render it. And I still keep this update store button as it is. Now let's try to see how exactly we're going to update the store. So here you can see that we need to get the set state from our store, and literally we can do absolutely the same what we do with the set state from React. So we're gonna obtain the previous state and update the values on this on our store. So very easy. So only what we need to care, it's about the memorization or providing the function with the reference and so on. I will show you later how we can achieve that. So a footer, the same thing. We're going to use the selector. We're gonna take the status, and we just render that status because we're just getting from the selector from the store that data, and that's it. In the header, the same. We just get the set state from our store. We take the previous store. We provide the latest data from the store. I do these manipulations in order to ensure that we are avoiding extra unnecessary re-renders, and we're going to click by all of those buttons, and we will ensure that no header. For example, if we update something what we render on the body and I click on the header, header should not update, but we have to update the body where value is being updated. So this is the important thing. So here, shares component, where we're going to read our shares from the store. You can see that we're using selector, and we are returning there from those details where we have to be able to read shares and list them in our share item component. Now, how we gonna update the share? So the same thing, but with the use callback, because we provide that function for update share item to the item of shares. But with the same technique, we're going to get the previous store. We're gonna save to the details our updated shares. And in our case, we're actually going to just increase the price +1, and there's nothing, no magic at all. We're just gonna find the same symbol where we click and update that price. If we will render our application, it have to look like this, very simple. You can see various of buttons. What we do expect over here when we click on our buttons. Let's say when I click increase on Apple share, Apple stock, it has to increase only that item. Or if I click on Google, I just increase that price to the Google, and we not re-render anything else. We just update specifically that point and nothing else. If I click on update name and age from body, the body has to update that age and name and re-render body, but still keep the same shares and other things. So here we are. Once we arrive to the application, we're going to see our indicators, that header updated, body updated, shares list updated, and all of these items being updated because we just arrived and rendered those components. So this is initially our console indicators. Now, as I said, when we click on update name and age from the body, the store will be update only once, if the only once. The thing is that I updated those names and I clicked on the button. Next time when I click on the button and I will try to update it again and again with the same value, we're expecting that nothing gonna be re-rendered and the store will not be updated and triggered at all because data the same. We just provide the same name, in our case Javier. We just put there the same name, but the store already have these values, and we expecting that nothing gonna happen, no re-renders, nothing, absolutely. So multiple clicks will not trigger extra re-renders at all. So the same principle will happen if we will update the store from header component at the same. So we're gonna click multiple times, body will be updated, but by clicking multiple times, we will keep nothing gonna happen, and re-render will not happen at all. So what about the app component? There's the button, as you remember, where we need to add new share from our app component, right? So what do we expect? We're expecting that the application will add the new share item here, you can see that we set the new item. We update the state, and we add the new item to the share. So here you can see the new share, and we add as the last one to our store. So by that, when we click again multiple times with the same data, we're not going to be able to add anything else because the data already exists. So exist with the same value. So by clicking add share button will multiple times, will update the store only once, causing only the share list component to re-render. So we need to keep value clean, and we're not going to re-render to do extra re-renders. So by the way, about the use callback hook, I actually already mentioned that sometimes we need to use it in order just to memorize our to avoid the extra renders, because we provide the function with a new reference. So that's why we're using a use callback. And you will ask about the server-side rendering as well. So what we can do with the server-side rendering? Server-side rendering, it's a little bit differently because we need to get the props. For example, in Next.js, when we using Next.js, we need to get the server-side props. We're gonna obtain those props, and then we have to be able to synchronize with our store. So for that, we need to create init function, initialize function, where we're going to read from props initial state. Here you can see that initial state provided from the function, and we are able to use those values from props. How should look like this init function? We're gonna get this init state. We're gonna create a new variable, is initialized. So here you can see this this value, and we update our state, and we just flag that is initialized already in true, so it's been initialized. So when we able to reuse that store across our application. So in the conclusion, I would say that by that technique we can achieve flexibility in terms of we actually can handle everything by ourselves. We just can. I just showed the example of just one store. We have to be able to create like several stores where we going, like, for example, I call this just a store. You can call this whatever you want. For example, this store for one entity, then going to be another logic somewhere. So we can actually create by that several stores, and using selector, we can achieve this scalability. We can use this different stores and read the updated data, depends of the created store. And by that as well, we have to be able to control the our behavior of to avoid any extra re-renders and avoid any extra libraries actually. So once again, if we take a look on the how we set the state, we do actually almost the same what React API provide to us. We do set state in the same way, only that we need to get the data from the selector. We just using the hook, and we get that data updated. So yeah, that repository you can get from GitHub. Take a look on it over there. You can just reuse this code over there. And thank you so much. That's it.
Hi, Anton. Thank you so much for this session. It was interesting to see how React is progressing and how you can take care of state management without external dependencies. I'm just going to quickly have a look to see if we have any Q&A which dropped in Pine. Not yet.
I would like to add actually that that technique actually was highlighted in many topics during the last, I would say, half a year, because like before we, as a React developers, we was using a lot of global state management solutions, and there was very popular Redux.
Yeah.
Then React issued that feature with context. We start using the context together with reducer, which is more or less replicated behavior of Redux. Now we have this possibility to use selectors actually, and now we stepping in more closer when we don't need to use the extra libraries, and we can just create the store very controlled by ourselves and flexible one. So yeah.
That sounds very good because, one thing that I noticed when I was helping teams which had a React front end and I was just providing the backend API, it was interesting to see how many libraries were involved, and just library management itself was a pretty challenging task in the projects, and they had to be super careful not to update before a production release, and really plan when and which libraries they wanted to really change.
In my case, this very crucial thing that to avoid any extra re-renders and extra injection on data. If, for example, in my case, specifically in this topic, what I presented right now,
Yeah,
then you don't need to update the store if the data the same. You can
definitely.
control it by yourself. You can do some whatever you want, but a lot of cases when the data already there, you don't need to update and do like extra job for it. For example, I mean, for us, it's important in terms of performance. We need to care about, hey, there's a lot of components. They should stay the same because they not obtain any new information at all.
Mhm.
Yes, you can click the event, you can fire the event, but the state has to be the same, or updated only if the data arrived new one. So this is the most important, and that's why I'm emphasize that thing.
Sounds really interesting. So, is there a GitHub repository or something where you have some of these best practices that you have gathered?
Specifically on my I mean, I already highlighted the link to GitHub repository with exactly that solution. You can check it out
Perfect.
in both yes, in both situation or server side rendering or just the client side. So there's a link on the presentation.
Mhm.
So, but if any other questions would be to me, you can reach me on
I
other
think right
platforms.
now, right now, I think a lot of people are just taking in the information. It's possible that people
Yeah,
listen to it, and then maybe even during the conference, I think it's possible that they might just put it on the hall or contact you on a private chat.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Perfect. I'm going to say, Anton, thank you very much. And I think we are done a bit earlier than planned, but I think
Yes.
that's completely okay. Then we have time to just take a breather and move on to the next session.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. That was a pleasure to present my topic. Thank you so much and have a
Thanks,
great
Anton.
day. Ciao.
Bye bye.